Hello, hello, you. Hello, lovely people. How are you today? So, today I wanted to talk about, um, today we wanted to talk about genius zone. And what the hell do I mean by genius zone? Well, it's come up a lot in my life, um, and I've heard term quite a lot. And working in your genius zone and being and living in your genius zone. So, what does that really mean? So, for me, it's a bit like getting to know who you really are, and and if whether you can apply that to what you do in your life and for your living. So I first came about Genius Zone. It was in more in a work environment where you know, people were saying to me, "What is it that you're good at? What is it that you're good at? Is it this? Is it that?" And it sent me on a real journey of self-discovery, of getting to know who I am, how I operate, um, that my strengths, my weaknesses, what what is it that I would talk about on a daily basis, and and how how I actually can I make that part of what I do? So, in some respects, I didn't really know or have any idea what a genius zone is, or whether I had it or anybody else has it. Well, it turns out that you really do. When you start going down on a journey of getting to know yourself, discovering who you are, how you operate, it's really enlightening because um, it takes away all the judgment of what you thought you were good at, not good at, what you didn't do well, and all these things, and how different everybody is. One thing I recommend to people is to do some of these personality tests. Um, I think when I started doing, I think the first one I did was the 16 personality test, and it came out. I was a campaigner, and when I read the profile for myself, it just made so much sense. Like the energetic side of me, the side that gets bored easily, the side that really looks at the bigger picture, can become distracted, um, but is generally a good, warm-hearted, loving person. And it really gave me the strength, in some ways, the strength, because it made me think, look, do you know what? This isn't a bad thing. I'm not great. I mean, I can be organized, that's not a problem, and I don't forget things, but I don't get caught up in the detail. I really don't. I'm definitely someone who looks at the bigger picture, the visionary side of it. And so when you start to find out what your strengths are, you know, and then you get the polar opposites of what your weaknesses are, you can start to say, well, if I want to improve this, then I need to find someone who can help me with this particular thing. This thing is there might be the consistency, or it might be the repetition, or for some other people it might be they get very, very caught up in always doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. And whereas my personality was much more of a sort of free spirited, didn't want to be tied down kind of personality, I had to become successful in what I wanted to do. I had to tap into the other side, which had more of the structure and the consistency, and finishing a job that I started, rather than moving on to the next one before I even finished that one. So I had to really learn about myself, and then I knew that I could expand into becoming successful. And then when you start to really get to know yourself, I mean, one thing that I think is really, really interesting is when you start to get to know yourself, is what is it that you talk about on a daily basis? What is it that you will talk about all day long that is might not be your job, might not be anything to do with that? What is it that you're passionate about? You know, and is there a way that you can link that to what you do? I mean, I love inspiring people, helping people. I really want to help women succeed in life so that they can find their own fulfillment, happiness, and success. And so I knew that I had to kind of add that to my life, you know, for my own reasons as well, because I'd been in that scenario where, you know, I had some young children, they had additional needs, and on the surface, it felt very alienated and not very alone. I felt very alone, and you know, and my children weren't fitting the normal scenario, and so the pressure was, you know, I felt reflected back onto me, um, and and I know that before I managed to learn to lean into what I was doing and what I wanted to achieve and look at the bigger picture, um, you know, I felt, you know, in pain on a daily basis of what the fuck has happened to my life. You know, I thought I had a great life. I thought life was good, and then I had, you know, three young children with additional needs. Could, you know, that could barely leave the house because we couldn't do anything normal, because we didn't fit the normal criteria. We couldn't go to the restaurants, we, you know, like without the huge judgment, and all those things. And that's one of the reasons why I really like to help women succeed, because when they lean into what they deem as a problem, and really start to look at it, that actually you can flip this problem and it can become actually something that's a genius about you. And so you end up working in your genius zone. I feel like this is my real genius zone, is helping women, because I've been in exactly the same scenarios in various different points of my life, in broken relationships, in trouble, in having young children, and having the pressure of what I put on myself of being a good mom, and society pressure of not succeeding, not being successful, what I thought was success, and managing to turn all of that round. And now, you know, like my life is filled with love and joy and happiness, and I want that for other people. I want that for other people, so they don't have all this pain, they're not carrying all this baggage about. And if you can flip that and work in your own genius zone, something that you're particularly good at. I mean, I think it's bullshit working on all these weaknesses that, you know, in school you always work on what you're bad at, what you're bad at. No, because that really takes away your confidence. Work at things that you're good at. Yeah, if there's something that you have to do that to add elements. I mean, I know one of my sons, in fact, two of my sons, they weren't sporty at all, and they've all felt really pressurized by not being good at sport, not fitting in. You know, I mean, they had ADHD. It isn't easy to fit in when you have that certain level of hyperactivity and impulsivity. So, you know, one of my sons, he read a letter to him. He wrote a letter to himself when he went on transition day from year 6, which is the small school, to the big school. And he's left school this year, and he finally, they gave him this letter back, and he'd said to himself that he wanted to get better at sports. And I thought, I was like in awe of him, because he now is really sporty. He does Thai boxing, he does weight training, he is the fastest person on the field. You know, he really tapped into that ADHD energy in the end, and it's absolutely been a superpower for him. And things have worked out really well for him. And yes, that was him working on a weaknesses, but also gaining confidence within, you know, within his strengths. So yeah, that was something that was really, really amazing. And now his bit that he couldn't do is now actually his genius zone. And when he goes to college, he's going to be working into doing sports science. So that's an amazing, amazing thing for him, for me as well, because all credit to him. What an amazing person he is becoming. But yeah, if you're working in your genius zone, you really get that alignment right. I mean, we're always in alignment, whether that's what we want or what we don't want, we're in alignment with it. But if we can get to know ourselves and actually get to know what our own alignment is that, what somebody else has said, what somebody else has put on you, what you think, what you actually think, about yourself. Or is there something else? Can you look deeper? Can you look longer? Can you look clearer and see, actually, I would feel so much better if I added this to my life? Is there things in your childhood that you did that you loved that you could add back into your life? Not necessarily in a work environment, but in a like dance or music or sing, anything that added value to your life when you was younger. Bringing these things into your life can really help you um, get to know yourself and become happier and more successful in what you do, because everything is a magnet, everything is energy. All the energy you put out into this world is the energy you get back. And it breaks my heart when I hear people saying really negative things all the time, because I know that at some point that's going to keep coming back to them. It might not be from the same person, but it comes back, comes back, comes back, comes back. And I see these people post all the time and they say things like, oh, why does this always happen to me? Why is this? Why is that? And they're permanently posting these negative things when really it's only a situation, you know but they're in control of that situation. They're in control of the thought of that situation. So if they gave themselves a bit of time, a bit of breathing space, looked at the situation and said, well, actually, it might not be this bad. It might be really bad, but it might not be. And if you look at it, take a step back, take a breath, really lean into being the person you want to be in working in that genius zone, in life, not just work, but and really living into that and leaning into that and becoming your own leader. I talk about this quite a bit, about leading yourself, and then eventually you can help lead others. But learn to lead yourself first. Make those decisions. If you've said something and your word, and if I asked a room full of people, is there word law, they would all say yes. But have they broken their word to themselves? Have they said they're going to go to the gym this morning and then they ducked out of it somehow? Did they say they were going to finish this by this time and they didn't? All these little micro laws that we've broken to ourselves generate our self-esteem and our achievement, and go towards the bigger picture of how we view ourselves. So it's really important to make sure that you are keeping your word to yourself first and foremost, and to others. And when you start doing that, oh, no, hang on. I said I was going to go to the gym. I don't want to. My foot's hurting. I've got a bit of a headache. I'm going to go anyway because I made that agreement with myself. And you go. And that the achievement that it takes, the discipline it takes, will really help compound how you feel about yourself, which will transverse into all the things, starting to do the things that you do. And if you keep that, you keep your integrity, you keep your authenticity, be true to yourself, not what you think society wants you to do, or your parents want you to do, or your children, or whatever, or your partner, or some other family member. If you're truly authentic to yourself, you can start living the best life ever. You really, really, really can. Okay. So, firstly, look at things that light you up. Start adding them back into your life if you can. All these little things that, like, I've started doing yoga again because I know that I love that, and I kept stop doing it. Like, let's bring it back in. This is self-care. This is self-love, and this self-care, self-love transfers back into your family and your relationships. It's not a selfish thing to do, because if you can be authentic, if you can be your true self, then this will manifest in a really positive way back into your world. And when you raise your own vibration and have that energetic match with yourself, then that will beam out into the world. You'll be working at a higher level. You'll be absolutely working at a higher level, and that will bring so much goodness back into your life. At your world, it was a game changer. Everything will start to change when you can work on another level, bring your energy up, and put it out into the world in a really positive way. It will bounce back to you in a really positive way. So what else was I going to say to you? One other thing that I found really, really interesting, and I don't know whether you've heard of it before. It's another personality test, and it goes around the moon and when you were born, and where you were born, and all these kind of things. It's called Human Design, and it really gave me a sense of peace when I looked at it, because I'm a manifesting generator, and that kind of when you read the profile of it, it really describes me to a T. Like, I do like lots of different projects all at once. I do like to manifest things. I get inspired. I can multitask, and that and I'm working in my genius zone, when I get lit up from all the ideas, and I'm working on such a higher vibrational level that that my world just opens up for me right in front of my eyes. And it's really nice getting to know yourself, when you can see all these things about yourself and you're like, yep, that is it. That's me. That explains why I can't sit and do this and this, but I'm working and generating on another level over here. So this is my thing. So if I tap into this thing, then boom, like, my world is going to just transcend. So my goal is that you firstly share this with anybody who would love to listen to me talk about finding your genius zone. Secondly, later on in the week, I'm going to be doing a masterclass on confidence. That will be a fun, interesting, and super nice. So yes, so please share this if there's anybody who would benefit from it. I am doing a live series of masterclasses. I think it's every Thursday. I'm also running a course at the moment called Life Without Limits. If you want to join that mini course, it's priced at 111, obviously, the angel numbers, £111 to join me for 4 weeks mini course, where we get you living on a higher level and having a life without limits. So yeah, join me every single day. I'm going live. If you have any questions, just fire them over to me. I'll be happy to answer them on weight loss, confidence, being fulfilled, having success, all these kind of things. So yes, if you want to speak to me, by all means. Thank you, and please share, and I will see you all very, very soon.